You're listening to The Sting, the podcast dedicated entirely to the thrilling adventures of the Green Hornet.
He hunts the biggest of all game, public enemies that even the G-men cannot reach, the Green Hornet.
Join your hosts as they take you step by step through the sensational radio series and beyond.
Where you been? Fargo said I'd been meeting you here at... What the...
What's the matter, Squadron?
You're wearing a mask. You're the Green Hornet.
Sure I am.
And now, going out to Green Hornet fans across the globe,
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
it's time for The Sting! Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, whoever else may be out there, all four other Green Hornet fans from around the world. Welcome to The Sting, our inaugural episode. I am joined here today by Zero
Greetings.
and Lucen Kim Basinger. Kim. Welcome, Kim.
One of these days I'll correct you.
He's never told me how to say the name correctly. But yeah, we're here. We've been listening to radio episodes. We've been preparing this for a little bit. I was taking a look around. It's been a while since I've covered the Green Hornet on the channel, mostly because nobody watches when I do. But then I looked at recent uploads and like, well, nobody's watching anyway, so screw it. May as well just make whatever I feel like. So here I am doing some more Green Hornet with the guys. I've successfully converted these guys over into Green Hornet listeners, at the very least, if not fans. So this podcast, the main idea of it, we're going to be going through the Green Hornet radio show, which started in 1936, and we're going to go 3 episodes at a time. Unfortunately, we are limited to the episodes that are available on Internet Archive, which is not complete. And the reason it's not complete is because recordings for the first 3 years of the Green Hornet were not saved. Or rather, they weren't recorded at all. They were done live performances, as radio was back then. Those episodes do still exist in script form in the Library of Congress, and you can access them, apparently, if you go there in person. And since I don't live anywhere near the Library of Congress, I don't have access to those. So we're going to be going through episodes starting in, I believe, 1939, which is when they started making recordings to ship out to other radio stations around the country, and is kind of where he took off in a big way. For today's episode, we're going to be focusing primarily on one particular episode, that being the 4th one available on the archive list. The link will be down in the description, and everyone should go listen to episodes because it's a fantastic show. The episode title is There Was a Crooked Man. It's one that I've recommended as a starting point before. We'll get into why. But before we dive into the episode, I'll have you guys introduce yourselves and your history, if any, with the Green Hornet and what you think of him as a character. We'll kind of go from there.
Okay, so who should go first? I guess me, just because I'm speaking.
You were
already.
introduced first after Mage, so sure.
All right, so my introduction to the Hornet was admittedly the utterly dog shit movie that came out. I don't even remember. It's irrelevant. Point is, it was a bad
2011, I think it was.
Yes, and I was like, I was vaguely aware that the Green Hornet was a pulp character, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Something about this is off. So I did a bit more digging to figure out, okay, what is this character supposed to be like? And then I just kind of forgot about it after my autistic ass got focused on other things. But
We should
recently
probably
I've been revisiting it.
we should probably tell everybody approximately what our ages are. Like, what, you don't have to give like your specific age, but like 20s, 30s.
Well, I am exactly 30, so there.
All right. Lucian, how old are you approximately?
More than that.
Never ask a lady her age, he says.
Sure.
So yeah, he's kind of the adult
believe-
in the room.
Yeah,
I think
I
I'm
believe
actually
I'm-
the youngest one here.
Yep, you're the young one, I'm the old one.
Yeah, I am 28, born in 1997. So I am actually the youngest person in the room here. So
There you
you will have to date yourself a little bit though. Like, were you old enough to remember the '60s TV show?
It was a
go.
TV show.
We'll get
No,
into that.
I was not around to see the '60s TV show air originally. I obviously saw reruns much later, but no.
Okay. So yeah, you've at least you knew of its existence before running into me and having me force feed it to you.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So do you have like any history with the Hornet at all?
I have like a double exposure thing here. It's like obviously I saw the 2011 movie as well, and that was my first, I guess, like re-exposure to it, and I had no recollection. I think I had originally saw it when I saw the a little bit of the 1960s Batman show. He makes like a guest appearance on one episode.
Yeah, he makes a couple guest appearances. You know the gag they do where they're like climbing up the side of the building and they're very clearly just
Yeah.
like a sideways camera as they walk across
Yeah.
a. Yeah, there's a couple gags that they do where they pop out one of the windows there and chat with him. They had a crossover episode as well, though it's definitely a Batman episode more so than a Green Hornet one because the shows are very different in tone.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
that explains it. It's because it was made by the same guy who did the Batman show.
Yep, exactly. The
probably.
production was actually kind of called, I think, if I remember correctly, they called it the two car shows because of like most of the budget went into the cars. So in the '60s Batman show, there was the Batmobile, and then for the Green Hornet, of course, there was the Black Beauty, and they were like expensive custom jobs on the cars. They put all kinds of like electronics and special effects on them, and they were
If you're
kind of
going
like
to blow all your budget on one thing, it may as well be a cool custom car.
right, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
we all love a nice Chrysler Imperial. It's a good looking car,
Yeah.
and it's
But
still
anyway,
yeah, it's still kind of the but yeah. So he did show up. I rambled there, sorry, but yeah, he did show
That's
up in
okay.
some Batman
Fine,
episodes.
fine.
yeah. But anyway, I saw that, then like was reintroduced in 2011, and I had honestly forgotten about the character in 2011. It was just a Seth Rogen movie for me when I saw it. I thought, yeah, it was fine. It was a Seth Rogen movie, and that's about all the impact it
It's
had at that
about as
point.
good as you can get from a Seth Rogen movie. It's like, yeah, it
It's
didn't make me want to kill myself.
It's like if you're stuck on a long flight and it's playing, you might watch it vaguely, but that's about it.
I would rather listen to the
Yeah.
airplane's engines.
Yeah.
I was about to say it's just background noise until whatever your sleep aid of choice is kicks in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I'll go into my history with the
Might be the
character
movie
as well.
itself.
I started out actually with the radio show, believe it or not, despite being the youngest person here. So my grandfather, back in the day, he had a bunch of classic radio shows on cassette tapes. And I still remember we'd go on long car rides together. It's one of the things I got to do with Grandpa. I really miss doing this. He had I want to say like a 2002 Crown Vic or something. I forget the exact year, but it was old as balls. And we'd get in this thing old enough so that it didn't have a CD player. And he would put in these cassette tapes, and we just listen to episode after episode, going to Bangor or wherever we were going. It'd be like an hour's drive or more. So we get a couple episodes in, and he had 3 radio shows that I remember. They were the Dick Tracy radio show, which I had to look up to make sure it even existed because I thought I affected myself with that. But no, there was one, so I'm positive that was one of them. Remember the bright yellow cassette tape cases. That was one. It didn't really interest me because Dick Tracy on radio isn't all that interesting. It's just another detective show. Because like his main gimmick is having a radio watch, which is, for someone who grew up in the age of the cell phone, is not very impressive. Then there was the second one that he had was The Shadow. And I loved The Shadow. I love The Shadow now, but at the time, The Shadow scared me. I spooked super easily as a kid. And like the point of The Shadow as a character, especially on radio, is to like scare kids into behaving themselves. And so I didn't enjoy listening to the Shadow because he scared me. But the Green Hornet was this really cool in-between section that had the fun detective stuff from Dick Tracy. It also kind of had the darker tone that the Shadow had a lot of the time, but it wasn't scary like the Shadow was. It was this really uplifting, just enjoyable 30-minute adventure. I loved all the characters in it. I kind of loved the world that they had going there. I was rooting for everybody, so I was really into it at the time. But keep in mind, I was like maybe 8 years old when this was going on. So I didn't remember it super strongly. I kind of forgot about the character for a number of years. The movie came out in 2011. I didn't see it at the time. I was still kind of young for it. My parents were careful about what I watched. They weren't going to let me watch a Seth Rogen movie at that age. My exposure to that movie was entirely a single episode of Mythbusters that they did, where they
I
brought.
forgot about that one.
Yeah, right. The only thing I remembered about it was they did the myth where like there's a scene in the movie where they take the Black Beauty and it goes up an elevator, and like the top half of the elevator cuts the car in half, and then they like drive around in the front half of the car, and
Yep.
they're basically just testing to see if that would work, which you don't need to test that. Just look at the car and see if it's front or rear wheel drive and see where the gas tank is, and that'll tell you if it'll work or not. But anyway, if that was basically all that I knew about the movie. I kind of wanted to see it because I loved Mythbusters at the time, and seeing a car get cut in half when they like have machine guns coming out the front looked super cool. And eventually I did see it, and I would just kind of went, well, that sucked. Everything about it is bad. Even like not remembering much about the character, I still thought that movie was terrible. I'll describe it. I remember the way that my local comic book shop owner describes the movie. He says, I borrowed the movie from one of my friends, and I still wanted my money back. So that movie was awful. I went back and rewatched it after getting back into the Green Hornet, and yeah, it's even worse after all of that. It's garbage, and I hate it. And I can get into the reasons why maybe in a future episode we'll talk about it in more detail. I got back into the Green Hornet actually through my wife. She grew up listening to the Green Hornet and a bunch of other classic radio shows. And she, after we started dating, she started talking about it here and there, just when we would talk about things we used to watch or listen to as kids. And it sounded familiar, but I didn't quite remember it. And then one day after we were married, she actually convinced me to go on Internet Archive and listen to some of the radio episodes. And we listened to a few, and I was vibing with it, having a good time. Didn't really impact me all that much. And then one other day on a whim, I started listening to it on my own, and I got to the episode we're going to talk about today. There was a Crooked Man, and that episode was so much fun that I just went down a rabbit hole, and for like a couple weeks straight, I just listened to episode after episode after episode. I worked at a Harbor Freight at the time, and so early in the mornings, that's when Harbor Freight goes and stocks the shelves. You get there before the store opens. And so I was going around in the back room, filling up carts with stuff to take out to the floor. It's a good 2 hours of not a whole lot going on. You just have a list of stuff that you're grabbing. So you can get away with putting earbuds in and listening to stuff on your phone. So I was listening to just episode after episode after episode of this show for quite a while there. And it was making life there at Harbor Freight bearable. That job sucked. But listening to Green Hornet in the mornings actually really helped make things a little more enjoyable. So that's kind of my history with the character.
Pretty good.
Yep. That's pretty much all there is to it. So, like, I'm the youngest guy here, but I'm also the most experienced with it. I've covered him on the channel before. I'll probably have to go and redo that video sometime, because I have this problem where I jump the gun when I make stuff. And I'll be like, oh, I love this thing. I'm doing a bunch of surface level research on it, and I've got a bunch of cool factoids. Let me do a video about it. And then I get done with the video, and it's out for like a year, and I've done more in-depth research, and I'm like, oh, this is actually way more interesting, and the surface level stuff I put in that video is kind of cringe. So I really should revisit that at some point. I think one of the bigger issues is that I attributed a lot of the decline of the Green Hornet to the rise of the Western and the popularity of the Lone Ranger. I still think that to some extent, but I think there's more factors at play than the primary one I pointed out at the time, because I was also on a Western kick, and so that bias worked its way into the video too. It's not a very good video, is the point I'm trying to make.
This might be like a minor spoiler for the character, but isn't the Green Hornet like related to the Lone Ranger somehow?
Yes, he is. He is his great nephew, I believe, is the relationship there.
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll have to ask my wife about this because she's listened to more Lone Ranger than I have. But the Lone Ranger radio show, his nephew is, I want to say Bert Reed. I can't remember the first name, but his last name is Reed, and I remember the name of his horse, but I don't remember his name. His horse's name is Victor. But anyway, his nephew.
Honestly, this needs to be its own episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, right. The only reason I remember his horse's name is because it's referenced in A Christmas Story.
Good reason as any.
Yeah, it's the answer to a crossword puzzle. What's the name of the Lone Ranger's nephew's horse? But yeah, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so yeah, the character there is officially, I think, Britt Reed's grandfather, I want to say. So it'd be like his great uncle. Depends on which incarnation of the character you're looking at too, because there's different versions of the Green Hornet. There's the '60s Green Hornet and the '30s Green Hornet, and I don't feel like doing math right now, so I'm not going to try and figure out how many generations removed he is. That might have just been his dad that was the Lone Ranger's nephew. It's just weird to think of 1930s mobsters running around with guys who remember the age of the cowboy and the sheriff.
That was a real thing.
It was a real thing. It's just weird to try and square that circle in my head, remembering that those two time periods are actually fairly close together.
Yeah, it was a little mind-blowing. Regarding like the '30s Green Hornet and the '60s Green Hornet, is this like a Batman situation where like it doesn't matter what decade it is, it's always Britt Reed, or is there a
Yes.
successor situation happening here?
Well, it depends. So there are some things. Green Hornet is primarily a radio and TV show character, and his original incarnation is that '30s radio version, which also carries over into the 1940s film serials, which are excellent, by the way. And then you have the 1960s incarnation. They're both Britt Reed. They're both original characters. The '60s show has a bunch of other characters they bring over from the old radio show, like Mike Axford and Lenore Case, D.A. Scanlon. They come in. In fact, that might actually be the one that introduced Scanlon as Scanlon. I get mixed up on it sometimes, but they have their own continuity. It's all the same characters, just in a 1960s context. But if you look at the comics, because there have been a lot of comics, sometimes they'll say that the Britt Reed of the '60s is like the son of the Britt Reed from the '30s. There's another comic where there's like a present day or near future Green Hornet who's the son of the '60s Green Hornet. So there can be it's kind of just whatever you prefer. I prefer thinking of '60s and '30s Green Hornet as being separate entities that just are very similar to each other. Different incarnations of the same characters.
All right, makes sense.
So that, and I should, because Zero, you didn't know about the TV show?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Probably because it apparently only ran for one season.
It did. It's also the show that introduced Bruce Lee in the West.
Yep.
You're shitting me.
No, I am not. It's the first big breakout role that Bruce Lee had in the West. He plays Kato.
Okay, now I'm very interested. Now
You,
I gotta
you've
see
heard
this.
you've heard of the myth about I don't know if it's actually a myth or not, but you've heard the story at least about how Bruce Lee moved so fast that the camera couldn't keep up with him, and he had to like
Yes,
do
I've
all of
heard
his
that.
moves at like half speed. Yeah, that story comes from filming the Green Hornet.
To be fair, some cheaper cameras had a frame rate low enough that he probably was too fast for them.
Yeah, it's believable enough. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but it's the story everyone tells about his time as Kato on the Green Hornet is that he was moving so fast that the camera couldn't keep up. They had to ask him to slow down. Makes him sound really cool, and not just that they were using crappy cameras.
Yep.
If you say it like that, it makes Bruce Lee sound super impressive. Which I mean, he was impressive. Let's not get it wrong. In fact, he's so impressive that the only reason anyone seems to remember the '60s show today is because Bruce Lee was in it, which is a damn shame. In fact, the show, I believe, the second season was canceled because Bruce Lee left. Because now he was popular and people wanted him and stuff, and he went on to like bigger and better things, and the show
Also
just
came down
kind
to
of
ratings,
stopped.
I understand it.
They could have recast, but like after you have a season of Bruce Lee as Kato, who the hell do you get to play that character afterwards?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
just it, it just can't be done. You can't top that. Get Chuck Norris to do a not quite as good martial arts.
yeah, it just wouldn't quite be the same, would it?
Or fucking George Takei if all you care about is that
Oh
he looks
God,
decent enough.
George Takei was doing his own thing in the 1960s.
Yeah. Probably heard of it. Little thing called Star
Yeah,
Trek.
just a little thing. I don't know, but no, I wouldn't want George Takei as Kato. He doesn't have the charisma for it. He didn't have that. He doesn't have the smile for it. His smile looks sleazy, I guess is how I describe it. Kind of has a shit-eating grin.
There's a joke I can make about that, but I won't because it'll violate the YouTube TOS.
Yeah, we won't go there. But yeah,
Let's at
that's
least get through. Let's get through one episode before we start violating TOSs.
Yeah,
Right.
if this was on Rumble, I wouldn't give a shit. But
we're already pushing it. All right, so we'll get into the episode itself. So this episode, it's called "There Was a Crooked Man." This is the one that I recommend people start with the Green Hornet. I think that it's got the best all around, or I used to. I now think that there's a different one that's a little bit better, but I hadn't gotten that far in the list at the time that I recommended this. And the thing that I like about this episode is it's a really good introduction to what the Green Hornet is, what he's all about, and how he operates. It's it's fairly basic and formulaic when you break it down, but that's kind of what makes it so good as an entry point, I think.
yeah, you want your introduction to any setting really to be very by the numbers, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Let someone get their feet wet before you shove them into the deep end.
Yeah, the story is also there are times where the Green Hornet can get a little bit confusing. Like the stories always move along at a very brisk pace because it's 30 minutes of radio. We got to go go go,
Yep.
and it's tough to tell a mystery story in 30 minutes. It's the sort of thing you
It's
kind of have to
actually
rush through.
it's actually more like 25 minutes, with 5 minutes being dedicated to commercials.
Right. So you get this interesting thing where like they'll cram a ton of information into a very short space, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss some details. After a few episodes, you kind of develop a feel for it. But I've heard a few people. I think you guys might have said at some point that it was tough keeping track of things in some of these episodes.
Oh yeah, that was definitely me saying that.
Yeah, they move along at a brisk pace. And that's the nice thing about this episode is that it's all very simple, very straightforward. A guy wants to bust up a gambling racket in the city. He's got all the evidence he needs, and his daughter gets kidnapped, and suddenly he doesn't want to break the story anymore. And so they go and they rescue the daughter and plant the evidence on the bad guys. It's very, very simple when you break it down. Nothing too convoluted. It all makes sense, but it's all still very entertaining.
I mean, yeah, it was straightforward. You can keep up with it very well, and shows how the Green Hornet operates to at least some introductory level. It's interesting. It's like, this is the introduction of the Green Hornet, and this is probably where the radio show suffers for not being recorded at first. It's just there is no origin story that I'm aware of. It's just sort of like, bam, Green Hornet, let's go.
Yeah,
And he's
there
oh,
isn't
oh.
one. Yeah, they don't ever, I don't think even in the radio scripts ever really go into it all that much. There's some
To be
hints
fair,
about
origin
it.
stories were not the norm at the time. That became a
Yeah.
thing more in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, the basic setup is just it is what it is. So you have Britt Reed and he moonlights as the Green Hornet. The details that you get throughout the show are things like the newspaper actually belongs to his dad, but he's out of the country for an extended period of time, and Britt Reed is running things while he's away. And while his dad's gone, he's also doing his Green Hornet thing. Mike Axford was hired by his dad to keep an eye on him, and he works at the paper, but he's kind of bumbling and a buffoon, so he isn't able to keep up with him. And his friend Kato, I don't think they ever mention how he met Kato, but Kato is both Japanese and or Filipino, depending on what year it is. And they don't really
Basically,
go.
depending on if he's voicing the character or not, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much actually. There's an interesting story there I'll get into in a second. But Kato is the guy who built the Black Beauty and designed the Hornet gun, formulated the gas. He's he's the gearhead in the equation, which is really interesting, especially for the time period.
After the 30s, that would have been someone would have been like,
He's not only friends with an Asian person as a character, the Asian person is also an integral part of the team who makes the stuff.
And in
which,
fact,
which is kind of funny because now that's basically the stereotype of Japanese people.
Well, yeah, but the thing is with the
back
voice
then-
actor, I should pull out the book. There's a whole book about the Green Hornet's history. It's a pretty good one. But it goes into some of the detail. I forget the name of the original voice actor for Kato, but he was native Japanese. And in the 40s, when World War II started, and JFK decided to open up internment camps in the U.S. and ship Japanese Americans there against their will, they scooped up the voice actor and hauled him off to one of these camps, and he disappeared. Nobody ever saw him again, which is just
Considering what else,
it's just tragic.
considering what else was going on in those camps, he was probably killed.
I mean, he might have been. I sincerely hope that he was okay and he just decided to go back to Japan because screw America at that point. And look, I wouldn't blame him if that was the case. But yeah, no, he just kind of disappeared into the void that was those camps. It's really, really freaking sad. But yeah, Kato's origin, it kind of oscillates between Japan and the Philippines, and sometimes both, depending on who's writing whatever medium that you're in. And sometimes they just don't address it at all.
Sometimes it's a question of don't ask questions you're not prepared to hear the answer to.
Right, yeah. And honestly, like, it's not really all that important where he's from. He's just the Asian guy, and that's just, you just kind of roll with it. That's the role that he fills. I say this about him in the 60s show in particular. He's kind of serves the role of what I like to call Asian ex machina, which is where if there's something like Oriental or Eastern spiritual or martial arts related that it comes up in an episode, Kato just knows about it. He's just already an expert on it because, well, he's Asian. Of course he would know, you know? That's sort of soft racism of the 60s that's like the endearing kind where it's like, well, yes, but this is a good thing about you.
yeah. Of course, Kato also has a role to play in this particular episode you're talking about.
Yes, that's one of the reasons I like it so much.
He gets meant to save the Green Hornet, actually.
Yeah, that's a neat little moment. They're interrogating a guy disguised as the Green Hornet, and he goes over to a safe or a filing cabinet, whatever it is, or his desk, I forget exactly which, to get the evidence that the Green Hornet is after. But instead of grabbing the papers, he grabs a gun and holds Britt Reed at gunpoint.
Now you, put your hands up.
Who are you?
Hurry. Raise your hands or I'll blast you into eternity.
More nerve than I gave you credit for, Conway.
Take off that mask.
Conway, do you know what this will mean to your daughter?
And it's sort of like an oh shit moment. And then he gets gassed by Kato, who comes in through the window.
Don't be a fool, Conway. You can't help your daughter this way.
Take off that mask. Take it. Something's wrong. My throat.
Too bad, Conway. You forgot I might have an assistant.
I saw him.
You shot gas from the window just in time. Now get in here quickly.
So
Yep.
that's not something that happens super often in the radio show. Kato does see action occasionally, but not super frequently. So that's another reason why I kind of pointed this as a good intro episode, because Kato actually gets to do something. He has a lot more dialogue than usual, too. Because in about, I'd say 90% of the episodes so far, his dialogue consists entirely of, "Yes, Mr. Britt." You get used to hearing that after a while. "Yes, Mr. Britt."
Well, as you said, you got 25 minutes to tell an entire story here, so stuff gets cut.
Yeah. I think he makes like a joke at some point in this episode too. I forget exactly what it is, but he cracks a little bit of a joke when they're about to go in. I should look it up. I'll probably cut the audio out of the episode and put it in here in post so people can hear what I'm talking about. But yeah, he doesn't get to say a whole lot for a lot of the show, so it's really fun to have him here. You also get a little bit of Casey here being a bit of a wisecracker, one of the reasons that we love her so much.
Good grief, Lowry. Easy on that door.
Where's the boss? Where's Reed?
What do you want him for? He's busy.
Yeah? Well, tell him that Dick Slotkin's finally found enough cash to bribe James Conway.
Watch yourself, Lowry. That's one of those things that calls for lots of proof.
You said it, Casey, and what I'd give to be the guy to prove it.
Lowry being a bit of a sleazy newspaper reporter is in this episode, which I really like. Lowry is a really underrated character. Yeah, I love Lowry as a character. He's your stereotypical newspaper man, just wandering around and saying like veiled statements and innuendos, trying to wheedle the truth out of somebody.
Are you here to meet Father, too?
Me? No, I'm just here scouting for news. You know, sometimes big names come in on the planes.
Oh.
My boss was in Chicago, too. Wonder if you met your father there.
Mr. Reed?
Yeah, know him?
Indeed, yes, very well.
Say, that's one nasty mess we're having in this town, isn't it, Miss Conway? I wonder how your father's investigation is going.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lowry,
If anyone can smash this graft ring, he's the man to do it.
You really think so?
He's told you about it, of course.
Well,
A couple dozen gambling houses running wide open with all kinds of protection. Cheap joints where they let a sucker play for a nickel, and others where they let them do anything to limit, win or lose.
Yeah, really,
Oh, Miss Conway, he must have mentioned them to you.
Well, if he has, I've paid little attention.
The sheriff of the county attempts a raid once in a while, but there's always a tip-off.
Is there?
Yes. Yet the same sheriff completely smashes the joints that try to open in competition to Deke Slotkin. Say, what's your father said about Deke Slotkin? Now, there's a crook who's in solid. Wonder how much he pays for protection.
If you're trying to get information out of
me... No, where'd you get that idea?
He's an integral part of the team.
Something believable that'll sell papers anyway.
Yeah, well, the Daily Sentinel is a virtuous newspaper. It's something interesting about this time period is that, unlike today where like we go back and forth and you can't trust anything you read in a headline somewhere, back then the news was almost like people were almost celebrities. They were almost superheroes in a way, and people looked up to them as the ones who were like speaking truth to power, making sure that people were held to account. And for a lot of times, like, they would actually do that sort of thing. There were good journalists out there at the time. So it's an interesting time capsule aspect of this, is that the newspaper guys are the good guys and they're actually doing a good job.
Yeah, that pulled me out of the episode a little bit at the beginning. Like, there's the what's the word? Conversation between Britt and the DA character, and Britt has a line where it says, you know, you can always trust a newspaper man. And if you want if you want to keep something safe, you best confide in a newspaper man. I'm thinking, are you sure?
But
It was
first
a
time I
different
heard that in the
time.
recording,
It
the
was
first time I'd heard that in the recording of this show, I actually fell out of my chair laughing.
Yeah.
It was a
Like,
different era.
I mean, yes, it's been the better part of a century since this, but it's like, huh, things really were different back
We
then.
used to be a real society.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's been a funny conversation for me too. Uh, One of the things that I love about this is the conversations uh, with the DA. I think his name is
Conway?
Conway. That's it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, District Attorney Conway. And there's another conversation they have in Britt Reed's office. I put this in my video at the time, where it really shows one of my favorite things about the Green Hornet is his detective work and how he uses his dual persona to get information. It's like everyone's going to expect a newspaper guy to ask questions, and you can tell that he's figuring out as much by the answers he doesn't get as the ones that he does.
Where's your daughter, Conway?
What?
You heard me. Where's your daughter, Paula?
Why, that is, she's out of town.
Are you sure she's out of town?
What are you driving at, Reed?
Just this, Conway. Your daughter went to meet you at the airport yesterday. Someone sent her a telegram. She drove away from the airport. Has anyone seen her since then?
Good Lord, how do you know these
Has
things?
she been taken by Slotkin's mob?
Reed,
Are they holding her? Do they demand that you surrender all the evidence against them as the price for her safety?
You seem to know.
Conway, what are you going to do about it?
So like he's talking to someone who doesn't want to talk, and he just keeps going down this conversational rabbit hole, asking questions that he knows he's not going to get the answer to. But the fact that the guy isn't answering is an answer in and of itself, and you see him in real time piece together exactly what happened and why, based on his own experience with this kind of thing. And I really, really like that's another reason why this is a good introductory episode, is watching Britt Reed do the detective work just right in front of your face.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
And then turn that into action.
exactly. I mean, if you want to compare that to the 2011 movie, there's one thing that's missing from that entire thing. It's Britt Reed, because he's just an idiot throughout that whole movie. He's just an absolute dumbass. They get they get to the scene in the movie where he figures everything out, right? Where he figures out, he finally puts all the pieces together that Scanlon is a bad guy. Another thing I hate about that movie. And then he's been working with the main bad guy of the movie, and he's been there all along. And then, like, Scanlon taunts him with it and says, "I can tell by the stupid look on your face that you finally pieced it all together." It's just like, he's such a dumbass in that movie. It's very frustrating to watch when you know from radio episodes like this one just how intelligent he really is. He's sharp as a tack.
Which that's just the problem is Seth Rogen was playing the main character. And
Right.
Seth
Try
Rogen-
making a Seth Rogen character look intelligent. It's freaking impossible.
Seth Rogen can only play one kind of character, and that is Seth Rogen.
Well, it's like a two-pronged problem first. Yes, first it's Seth Rogen. Second, that movie was, in a way, an origin story. So I think, like, maybe the intent was to start him on the bottom as the Seth Rogen idiot, and maybe if there'd been a hypothetical sequel, you could have seen him develop more. But
I think you're giving him too much credit.
Keep in mind that at
I
the end of the
probably
movie, he's just as stupid as he was at the start.
Yeah, I know.
And if you look
There's
at
only so much
interviews
you
from
can
the
do.
time, like, one of the things that Seth Rogen talks about, first of all, he says that the radio show is stupid, so they're not using it for inspiration, which, screw you, Seth Rogen, by the way. It just, in every way imaginable. But not only that, the thing he was talking about was how he was watching the 60s show, and Kato was way cooler than the Green Hornet. And so Kato was going to be the actual competent one in the movie, which just goes to show that he wasn't paying attention when watching the 60s show either, but that's an entirely different kettle of worms.
Well, long tradition of ignoring the source material, I guess.
What we have here is a failure to communicate. What a disaster. But we're not here to talk about the movie. We're here to talk about something good with the Green Hornet
Yes.
in it, God damn it. It's so hard to talk about the Green Hornet without going into how horrible the movie is.
Yeah, we could save like we could do like a riff of the movie in general for like April Fool's next year.
I've been thinking of like just going through and doing a almost like a nostalgia critic thing where I just go through and tear the thing apart. Or maybe like a Cinema Sins, except I can't do Cinema Sins. I think they already did it first of all, but also Cinema Sins isn't funny. So, but something along those lines where like going through and taking the piss out of it like bit by bit, trying to avoid copyright the entire time to see how it goes. But I don't know. But anyway, back to the episode at hand. There is one thing that's missing from this episode, and one of the reasons I think that there's a future one that actually works a little better as an intro point. Mike Axford. Where's Axford? I don't think he has I don't think he appears here. Does he?
I don't remember hearing him.
I need to remember who Mike Axford is.
Oh boy, we have a lot of work to do when it comes to you. But anyway, yeah, Mike Axford is the Irish guy. He's the somewhat bumbling
that guy.
Yeah, the bumbling former cop who's supposed to be keeping an eye on Britt. Yeah, the guy who says things like "Holy crow!"
I was about to say, I know what you're talking about based on the accent. I just, for some reason, I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah, that's Mike
really
Axford.
bad. The problem is, I'm really bad at remembering names.
I think this was a stretch where his character was supposedly on vacation. That's something that happens in this show, is that characters will just kind of disappear for a few episodes because like the voice actor needed a break or was sick or something,
or he had other contracts to deal with.
I think they had Casey gone for a few episodes because the voice actress was having a baby at the time. So yeah, things like that going on.
That would put a damper on your performance.
Just a little bit.
Well, as far as reasons go to miss work, that's a pretty good one.
Do we get maternity leave? But anyway, yeah, he doesn't appear in this episode, which is a bit of a shame because Axford is kind of the heart and soul of the whole thing. He's the comic relief character, but he's like he's selectively competent. He'll do some things really well, but either he'll screw something up at the last second or his timing will be so bad that it's basically worthless anyway. There's a future episode involving like a taxi cab racket where he stumbles upon an extortion ring surrounding taxi cabs in the city. And so like he runs into the Sentinel all puffed up and thrilled. He found himself a scoop. Like he's got a story for the paper. He gets in there and he's talking it all up, and it builds up for like 5 whole minutes of him just bubbling up in the most adorable fashion. And he finally breaks the news about what he's found, and everyone just kind of deflates. Like, Mike, everybody knows about the taxi racket. It's an open secret.
Poor Mike.
Yeah, poor guy just cannot catch a break, no matter what he does. But we all love him. But yeah, he's not in this episode. And that
he's kind of like the Watson to the Hornets' Holmes. He's a bit dumber than the audience, but not by much.
I don't think so. Like Watson is actually occasionally competent and good at stuff and important to the team. He's also kind of the muscle in a lot of situations. And he's the one who he's former military. But yep. I get where you're coming from with the comparison. But I think he's a bit more, trying to think of an equivalent character. He's more pure comic relief than an actual sidekick. I'm trying to think. There was an episode, we'll cover it eventually when we get there. There's an episode where the Green Hornet, because like in this episode, one of the things that it shows, another reason why it's a good introduction, is it shows how he gets things done. So the Hornet as a character is kind of a puppet master. He rigs things and events to transpire. He sets things up, like setting up dominoes, and he knocks the first one over after setting the whole thing up. The whole thing cascades and leaves him standing on top. And you get a glimpse of that here, where he misplaces accidentally the address that he's going to on a slip of paper and just lets it fall on the floor, knowing that the DA is going to find it there and call the police. And there's a similar thing he does in an episode with Axford. I don't remember the exact details, but he sets up something knowing that Mike Axford isn't going to be able to contain himself and he's going to blab about something he shouldn't. And so he sets it up that way so it actually works to his advantage in a situation.
Also, significantly, the Green Hornet is publicly a bad guy.
Yes. How have we not talked about this part? Yes. It's one of the most important parts. One of the things I love about the Green
Very
Hornet.
unique for the time period.
Yes, it's one of the things that makes him such an interesting character and way better than any others from the time period. Sorry, not sorry. It's the whole thing where he not only doesn't care that people thinks he's a bad guy, he leans into it and uses it to his advantage. He shows up in this episode in particular to collect the evidence in order to have something to plant on the bad guys and get them arrested. But from the DA's perspective, he's just working for the same bad guys. He's just in with them because he's the Green Hornet. He's a criminal. And so not only does he end up with the evidence planted on the bad guys are now tied through the DA's testimony that they were working with the known super criminal, the Green Hornet. That's now on their rap sheet too. So they get an even harsher sentence now just because he's tied in. It's such a fun thing about the character is how he utilizes the criminal aspect in order to get an advantage. And I can't think of any other character that works that way.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of one either. But yeah, he absolutely leveraged that here. Like
Not for that time period.
You have like a more modern example?
No, I mean, I think I vaguely remember something kind of like that came later. Not modern, but I don't know. I might remember it later.
Yeah, you don't see it very often. Typically, in a hero story, when the hero is set up to look like a criminal, the plot of that episode or comic book will revolve around them trying to clear their name. You see this with Batman a lot, or Spider-Man, where it will look like they've done a crime, and then by the end of it, they'll have brought the real criminals to justice, and everyone will be like, oh, I can't believe we thought it was Batman or Spider-Man. We're so silly.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, depending on who's writing them, sometimes Batman is written kind of like a bad guy. It's just like, it's an open secret he's not really, but the police technically have to categorize him as one, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Batman copies a great deal of things from the Green Hornet.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something I like to pull out at parties. It's like, yeah, Batman's a lot of stuff that Batman does, like he stole straight up from like the Shadow and the Green Hornet, because they came first. The Green Hornet predates Batman by 2 years, I think, and he was driving around in a black supercar equipped with gadgets long before Batman was. So,
what's the saying? A good artist copies, a great artist steals.
Yeah, exactly. I think Tom Lehrer wrote a song about that. Lobachevsky. If anyone in... we already have a niche audience. I have to now find the super niche of people who like Green Hornet and are also fans of Tom Lehrer and know the song Lobachevsky. Look it up. If those listening, look it up. You'll know what I'm talking about. The whole song's about plagiarism.
Plagiarize. Let no one else's work evade your eyes.
But anyway, yeah, there's a great deal that Batman copies from the Green Hornet, and now the Green Hornet in comics has been copying Batman, and it sucks. But anyway, it's an interesting thing about the character is how unique this approach is. Even now, if you don't see that taken, Green Hornet doesn't care if people think he's a criminal. It gives him more leverage, more street cred, makes him scarier, makes his job easier, not harder.
Yeah, I was gonna say he leverages that in this episode. Even like as you were saying, he goes to get the evidence. He just like goes in, I guess, breaks into the guy's house, and the guy just takes it on faith that you're with the kidnappers, and I was waiting on a phone call from them, but I guess I was waiting on a phone call from them, but I guess you're here to get the evidence instead directly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also something that I think only really works for the time period, because if someone tried to do that today, like if you wanted to write a story realistically set in the modern day, he would get caught within days.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a little bit more tricky in the internet age to do any of these types of characters.
or or just modern forensics in general, really, like DNA testing.
Oh yeah, that would make things very tricky. But
yeah,
even then, with DNA testing, I mean, it has to pop up on a database when you run that DNA through. So if they don't have a reason to have Britt Reed's DNA in the database, well, it wouldn't pop up as the Green Hornet. And typically,
it
like
would
they
definitely
don't
be.
they use DNA to like confirm somebody that's already suspected, more so than to find somebody to begin with to like find your suspect. So
Fair point.
you could make it work in the modern day. You'd have to write around a lot of modern technology and forensics to do it, but yeah, it would take a lot more than just showing up. Uh, it's one thing, just all the time in these old episodes, the Green Hornet will just show up and somebody be like, "Ah, you're in with them. You must be." Or when talking to like the innocent bystanders. And then the other thing that he likes to do is show up to like say there's a two bad guys working together and they have an uneasy partnership. He always shows up and pretends that the other guy's doing a double cross using the Green Hornet to get at them and just ends up breaking down their entire relationship so one of them will talk. It's a tried and true technique. And again, I don't see a whole lot of other characters doing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's not a it's a difficult one to pull off in like the superhero genre, and I'm just gonna categorize them in the superhero genre because it sort of kind of is. And yeah, it's like I guess going hard anti-hero kind of.
Yeah, he very much is an anti-hero. It's interesting when you look at other characters from the time. When you look at the other Trendle production with Lone Ranger, the differences in character between the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet is fascinating. Because the Lone Ranger shows up, white hat cowboy. Yeah, he's wearing a mask, but it's pretty clear from word go that he's one of the good guys. It's really interesting, especially in the time period, to write around a character that everyone assumes is evil the moment he shows up, and how it's used to create drama.
Yeah, and it's not like in some settings where a character is seen as villainous for utterly contrived reasons. In this case, it's like, no, this is a reputation that he deliberately cultivates.
Exactly. Yeah, it leads to there being a lot of heightened emotion in the episodes that really make them compelling. I found where, he shows up, everybody's like, "Oh shit, it's you," and they start to panic, or some of them get angry, some of them get combative. It instantly gets people up on their haunches, and so it makes the stories very exciting and dramatic. The Shadow does this as well, just because he kind of presents himself as this malignant force of nature. The Green Hornet kind of has that same vibe going, but for a different reason. It's a more...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, the Shadow is more like a serial killer, whereas
yeah,
the Green Hornet is more like something between a thief and an extortionist.
I put the Shadow, like his persona, into almost like a classic movie monster, where almost like a Dracula type or a Nosferatu. He shows up creeping around in the dark. The thing is with the Green Hornet is that from a writing perspective, he accomplishes kind of the same thing, but he does so in a more grounded way that makes everything feel a little bit more real and personal, because he's not this ethereal ghost-like being who can cloud men's minds like he is in the Shadow radio show specifically. He's just a guy. He's a mobster. He's a hitman, essentially. The
only thing that's kind of fantastical is the gas gun, if only because we're not exactly told exactly how the gas works and what it is.
Yeah. It's just he shoots the gas at people and they go, oh, I can't breathe, oh, and then they pass out.
On the gas gun, there were a few moments. There was like one moment in this episode, like near the end, when like he comes in from a alleyway, he's filled with gas, and I think then he filled up a room with gas as well. Thinking, you're not wearing a mask or anything. I mean, is he just immune to his own gas?
Well, he does wear a mask.
Okay. You know what kind of mask I'm talking about. I don't think he
Yeah, he's
wears
not
like
wearing
a
like a
gas
gas
mask.
mask. I don't think they really address it. I just kind of assumed that he has something, or maybe like a chemical treatment on his mask that neutralizes the effects of the gas. Because the gas wouldn't be much good if you were gassing yourself. I don't think
Yeah.
they ever outright say that, but he's never, in my knowledge, been affected by his own gas. This could be
Of
made.
course, it is possible to build up a resistance to certain chemicals via exposure.
That's true. Like they never say why. You just kind of accept that. Yeah, he picked out the gas,
Yeah.
so he's clearly figured out a way to get around it. But yeah, it's a funny thing in this episode. He doesn't do it often, but he floods an area with gas to cut it off as a route of escape for the bad guys. Like, you can't go out the door. That hallway is filled with gas.
I
Which,
mean, could be a bluff, but yeah, if it's not, very effective.
yeah,
Yes.
and everyone knows that he uses gas. It's
Hmm.
so that's another thing with his reputation. He has a reputation for gassing people. There's a joke about. Never mind. So anyway, he's known for it. But yeah, he does fire gas in an enclosed room here. He knocks everybody out, which is interesting. They never really go into much detail about how the gas gun works. It just does.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, I kind of wish there was an origin story to help cover some of these details, but yeah, as it is, you just sort of accept it just works, it doesn't affect him, let's keep going.
Yeah, well, the reason that he uses a gas gun is because radio in the 30s wouldn't let you have your hero shooting people. So he's not allowed to have an actual gun. So it's the same reason why
Oh,
the radio version of the Shadow, if you read like the pulp novels, the Shadow is dual wielding 1911s and just gunning down fools left and right. And you listen to the radio show, and he suddenly has this hypnotic power where he can control men's minds through the power of hypnosis. And it's because like they couldn't have the hero shooting people on the radio back then. Just,
yeah, that kind of changes the tone of things.
yeah, it's just the censorship laws at the time wouldn't allow for it, and that's the reason why the Green Hornet has a gas gun. He wasn't allowed to kill people, which has led to a frustrating thing in the modern comics where everyone assumes that he has a Batman-style "I don't kill" rule, which is ridiculous if you look at any other Green Hornet media besides the Dynamite comics. But
Including the 2011 movie, actually.
yes, yeah, he does kill the bad guy. He like stabs him in the eyes, doesn't he?
Uh, for research purposes, I watched the final confrontation just today, and yeah, he shoots the bad guy, Kato stabs him in the eyes, and then the both of them run the other bad guy off a building with the Black Beauty. So it's
Yeah.
like, damn, we're just not even holding back at all, are we?
Well, keep in mind that in the movie they have machine guns bristling out of every orifice on the Black Beauty. It's got machine guns coming out of the. That's one good thing about the movie. The Black Beauty kicks ass in that movie. It's super cool. They got the machine guns coming out the hood. They got them in the doors. Like they open the doors, they go like reverse so that they can use them as like movable machine guns. That was cool. But yeah, like they're just spraying actual bullets at people. And I don't even remember why they have the gas gun in that movie, but who cares? It's the movie. Nobody likes it.
Half of it was for a joke, but
Yeah.
yes, the other half was probably just because it's the Green Hornet, he must have a gas gun, so
Right.
there you go.
And also it's an ugly, stupid looking gas gun in the movie too. But anyway, if you watch like the film serial or the 60s show, they kill people in those. Like several times. The Green Hornet, he's a guy who tries to bring people in alive when he can, but he also recognizes that there are times where either you have to directly or indirectly have someone's life end at your hands. And he never really goes in intending to, but it happens. And he doesn't like let himself get all torn up about it when it does. But there's an episode in the 60s show where they're like fighting some bad guys on a dock, and they kick them in the face and knock them off the dock into the water, and there's like a lingering camera shot at the end of the episode showing that the bad guys have died because they got knocked unconscious face down into the water and they have drowned.
Oof, that's harsh.
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean the Green Hornet doesn't kill people? He doesn't try to, but he clearly does. It's such a stupid Oh, well, Batman does it. Stupid.
Well, his mentality is to quote Rocky 4: if he dies, he
If he
dies.
dies, he dies. Yeah, exactly. He has no moral scruples about. Even in the radio show, there's an episode. I'm trying to remember which one it was. There's an episode where he's talking about a bad guy. He murdered a personal friend of Britt Reed's. There's a waiter at a restaurant that he went to that he's actually friends with, and he like slipped him an overdose of his heart medication, so he has a heart attack and dies at the start of the episode. And it's actually genuinely emotional and sad when it happens. They get the bad guy at the end, and he gets arrested, and Britt's like, it's too bad the police didn't kill him when they found him.
Yeah, that's about the edgiest you could get in the 30s,
right?
It's like, he's probably, let's be honest, the guy was probably going to get the chair anyway for murder.
Yeah, like he was as close to killing people as you could get on 30s radio. He wanted to in that case.
I don't know about you, but if I had to choose between nerve gas or the electric chair, I think I would take the gas.
I mean, yeah.
Kind of two bad choices there, but okay.
I'll take the Shadows method of execution and just take bullets. It's quicker. And the Shadow doesn't miss. The Shadow knows where your heart is located. Yeah, it's a really interesting episode. There's so many things about it that are just kind of quintessential Green Hornet that are here and present and accounted for. It's a good intro point. The only example I would pick over this is a later one. I believe it's called like Lightning Strikes a Racket, something to that effect. That one's about an attempted takeover by the city, where the city officials are trying to take over a service that's provided by a private business by sabotaging the private business to make it look like they're not doing a good job. And
I think I've heard that one.
Yeah, it's that episode. Not only is it incredibly based, but also it's got everything in it. It's got Mike Axford being Mike Axford. It's got Casey being her adorable self. It's got Lowry doing his thing. Green Hornet and Kato all joining in. That's a really good episode. And I'm looking forward to actually covering it here. But I think that might be a slightly better intro episode because it's got a little bit more. But if you've never listened to the radio show before, this is also one of the best ones. There was a crooked man. Britt Reed really shows off his detective work here, even more so than in the other episode I mentioned. He's more of a detective here than in that one. And the story is also a little bit simpler. So, I don't know. I go back and forth. Did either of you guys listen to that other episode at any point?
Which one's the other episode? The Lightning Hits a Racket or whatever
Lightning
it is?
Strikes a Racket or something? I have to look at the list of episodes.
Yeah,
I think
it sounds familiar. I think I've listened to it, I forget a lot of details.
Yeah,
remember when I said I'm bad at remember when I said I'm bad at remembering names? It doesn't just apply to people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's also true that after a few of these episodes, they do kind of start to bleed together. It was the nature of radio at the time. It was you have a formula, you go and you make it work.
I imagine it probably is different when you're listening to them like once a day or once a week when they were coming out, as opposed to binge listening to them back to back to back.
Yeah, it's something that we've kind of lost in the modern era is the benefits of binge, and how now we'll listen to we'll watch a whole show, like a whole season of a show rather, on streaming in like an afternoon or a weekend. Whereas before, like if you wanted to listen to something or watch something, you had to wait for the next episode to come out. Built out all this hype around it. And I genuinely kind of miss that. I'm just old enough to remember the tail end of that kind of thing when regular seasonal TV was still a thing. I think the only place where you still get that now is maybe like sports, because that's live and has a set schedule. But
Some streaming shows are kind of moving back to that because they realize people will like subscribe to the service, watch the whole show, and then unsubscribe.
yeah, exactly. So you want to spread it out so you get them paying for more months, which is the best way to do it, I think. But also, people complain about it now. Like if you do that sort of thing, people start to moan like, "I want to watch the next episode. Why can't you already have them all made? Just put them all in the service." Well, no, they want to build hype. That's how shows work.
I think it has more to do with the fact that they're charging you more and you're getting less. Shitification, as they call it.
Yeah, I suppose it's just I think there was something to this older era of having to wait a little bit for the fun stuff that I think elevates this a little bit. I can kind of put myself in the shoes of a kid who has waited all day to get home after school and listen to the Green Hornet, but not everyone can do that.
There's also the fact that, well, just from an economic standpoint, radio is free for the listener.
Yes, that is true.
Unlike every other medium where you have to pay, or I guess local access television is often free, but there's like nothing to watch on it.
Yeah.
Whereas radio's free.
Yeah. Of course, back when this was on, when it was running, that's it. That's when it was running. If the phone rings, you're gonna miss part of the show. That's it.
Yeah, that is another aspect. But like that's an interesting thing is like with some of the preservation of this show, it's actually people recording episodes themselves. So like hooking up a very rudimentary recording device from the time and just putting it next to the radio and hoping for the best. You can actually, I think some of those are used on Internet Archive. You can hear a very noticeable difference in quality, or some of them will like cut at different points. And
yeah, I was noticing that with some of these.
Yeah, some of these episodes aren't in the best state of preservation, unfortunately.
No.
What I'd like to see one day, I know that there's another Green Hornet podcast out there. Actually, when I was going to start this one, I was writing up the intro and I was going to say the only podcast on the internet dedicated to the Green Hornet, because I just assumed that nobody else cares about him because it feels like that a lot of the time. But I was like, if I'm going to make that claim, I should probably actually check and make sure there aren't any. So I look up Green Hornet podcast and I discover that not only has there been a Green Hornet podcast, it started up last year and it's still running now. And that's the Green Hornet Case Files right here on YouTube. The guys that run that are super cool. Where was I going with this? I was talking about the other podcast.
I've listened to a few episodes. It's interesting.
It is very interesting. They go into kind of the history and the ideas behind the character. They've done interviews with different people who were involved with different aspects of the production. They had one of the comic writers there. They had, I think, somebody who worked on the 60s show at one point. They had a guy who works on fan animations as well. Or rather, he has a fan animation out, kind of like a pilot idea for an animated show. So it's a very short little thing here on YouTube, but that's also one that they've had on their podcast. Those guys run a pretty good show over there, so I would definitely recommend, if you like learning about the character more in abstract. I sent an email to the guys. I was going back and forth with them a little bit. They not only encouraged me to do this podcast here, which is very disorganized and scatterbrained, and hopefully everyone's at least somewhat mildly entertained, but not only did they encourage me to go ahead with this, they sort of informally invited me onto theirs because they were interested in hearing what a younger generation thinks of the Green Hornet as a character and kind of their experience with it. So I think that it's interesting to hear from them as well, because they kind of grew up more around the characters. It was more in the public mindset for them. Whereas, we grew up now, who knows about the Green Hornet in 2025? Like, people who remember the 2011 movie, and that's it,
Yeah.
Maybe you get a few people who remember the 60s show because Bruce Lee was in it, but who's listening to the radio show nowadays?
Weirdos like me.
Exactly.
Well, the better question is, how do you even know about the radio show?
Right, yeah, exactly.
You'd be surprised, man. I sort of
Radio shows, in general, as a medium, are kind of being rediscovered by Zoomers and Gen Alpha now.
Yeah. Oh, I remember why I was talking about the other podcast. They were doing a recreation of one of the original episodes, one of the ones that didn't get recorded. I was trying to talk about the state of preservation on Green Hornet episodes. I remember now. It's all come back to me because I'm a scatterbrained idiot. So, yes. So the original episodes, my dream would be to get together a team and just start banging out some of these old episodes, get access to those scripts, and see if I can get somebody to scan them or something, and just recreate those old radio episodes. I think that Green Hornet Inc., they own the Green Hornet IP, and they...
Like, super litigious.
I wouldn't say they're super litigious, but they are going to start cracking down a little bit more.
They're not Games Workshop.
No, they're not Games Workshop, but they are protective of the IP, and that's kind of the thing that's holding some people back. But they gave permission for these guys on the other podcast to release a recreated episode of the Green Hornet radio show that wasn't recorded.
Okay.
So,
well, in that case, just get into contact with them and ask for their blessing first, I guess.
yeah, wouldn't that be nice? I don't think I have enough pull for that, but I might try. Yeah, I would love to be able to do that. That's kind of a dream, is to throw something like that together and bring back some of this history. I think that, I mean, if Green Hornet Inc. has access to these original episodes, like even if they only have access to like the ones that were transcribed and sent to other radio stations, something a bit more, maybe some more high quality restorations would be fantastic, because it really, there isn't much being done with the IP at present. There's technically a movie in the works, but we don't hear anything about it, and it's been in the works for a long time.
It's in production hell.
Yeah, kind of. The last time that a movie was like that, it was the 2011 movie. We all know how that went. So this one I have a slightly higher hopes for, but they don't do a whole lot with the IP at present. So, like, if they want to maybe try and crack down on protecting their IP more, I don't mind so much, as long as they follow it up with some official support for the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, put out some more product related to the Green Hornet. Collecting Green Hornet memorabilia and just stuff for my shelf, because I'm that type of person, is a bit of a nightmare because nobody makes Green Hornet stuff. I've got a pair of like PVC figurines from the 60s show that are sitting up there. I've got a model kit of the Black Beauty made by Polar Lights, which isn't very good, and a more modern one made by AMT, which is much better. Then another Black Beauty made by a British company called Corgi. That one's actually really cool. I'll have to show you guys sometime what that one's like. And then outside of that, I've got a Blu-ray recording of the film serial. And that's it. That's just what there is.
We'll have to watch that sometime.
The only thing that I've seen that's official product that I don't have, and I don't have it because I don't want it, there was a toy line, I think it was called Captain Action. It was like Action Man back in the day. And he was this generic G.I. Joe-like doll that would have different costumes for different heroes. And he had one of them that was the 60s Green Hornet. And it's absolutely hideous. And I hate it. And I don't want it.
Yeah. Toys for that era could be hit and miss.
My point for all that is, Green Hornet Inc., throw that license around a little bit. Let's get some more stuff. I'll buy it. I promise. I don't have money, but I'll buy it anyway. I will spend the money before I make it, because I'm that type of person. I will buy Green Hornet stuff, please. Just make it. Make it available. We'll go from there.
If you want some actors, hey, standing offer.
Right? Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? I would absolutely love to do that kind of thing. But even if not, like, let the fans have access to some stuff. We'll do it for you for free. Just for the privilege of being able to do it. We'll do it for you. But no one from Green Hornet Inc. is going to listen to this podcast, let's be real. So, it is what it is. I am excited, though, to see what the guys on Case Files are going to do for that episode. I don't know when it's coming out. They may have said when it's coming out, but I wasn't paying attention because I don't do that very often. But I know that it's coming, and it's probably going to be really cool when it does.
Sure sounds like it.
I got to take some pictures of this Corgi Black Beauty here. So Corgi makes these die-cast models that are basically like a scaled up Matchbox type thing. They have the 60s version of the Black Beauty, the Chrysler Imperial, and it's a very nice little model, but it comes with little play features on it, which surprised me. So first it comes with a little figurine of Kato, not Britt Reed, because nobody cares about Britt Reed. They just care about Bruce Lee. But it comes with that little figure off to the side. But then if you flip open the grill on this thing, there's a little spring-loaded missile launcher in there. And opening that actually also deploys like the little missile launchers sculpted into the front of the car. So like there's these panels that flip around when you do it to show off the missiles. And then in the 60s show, he also had a drone essentially in the trunk of the car. They called it the scanner, and they'd launch it out the back, and it would hover around and help them find people who were trying to run away on the roads. So you press a different switch, and the trunk opens and shoots this little frisbee thing up into the air. It's super silly, but it's really fun.
It's also not that different from modern day drones.
Yeah, it's a neat thing. If we ever talk about the 60s show in more detail...
Change the flying saucer into a quadcopter, and you basically have a modern drone.
Yeah, it kind of predicted a little bit of that, and I think if I remember right, I think it gives him like a live video feed in the backseat of the car.
Yeah, we see that used by modern day police forces and military forces. I mean,
yeah,
look at the war in Ukraine right now.
Yeah, well, back then, like if you wanted to chase down a bad guy, you'd have somebody in the helicopter following after them, talking to you through a radio. Since the Green Hornet doesn't have anyone in a helicopter, he just brings his own little robotic one that Kato built, and they use that. So it's a kind of a way to do the stuff that was available at the time without actually needing more people. But yeah, so that's kind of where I think we should call it for tonight. We've been going for a little over an hour. We talked about the episode a little bit.
We hit the highlights.
Yeah,
To be fair, it's an intro for the podcast. This is bound to happen.
None of us know what we're doing, I think is the big takeaway from this. None of us actually know what the hell we're doing. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. Go listen to Green Hornet Case Files. Those guys are much better organized and probably more entertaining than we are. But if you want to listen to three morons ramble about nonsense and occasionally keep on topic when they feel like it, keep watching here, because we're going to be going through more of the episodes, and we'll focus more on the episodes themselves as we go through them in the future. Here I want to keep things a little bit looser, assuming that some people in the audience maybe aren't as familiar with the Green Hornet as a character. In the future, we'll try to be better. We'll see if we can improve things as we go along. We're also going to make sure that Zero actually listens to the whole episode ahead of time, as opposed to falling asleep in the middle.
Yeah, my sleep cycle has been a fucking mess this whole week.
Yeah. So, no hard feelings. Just don't do it again. Don't let it happen again. All right. So on that slightly awkward forced laughter, we're going to call it here for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been The Sting. Maybe I'll come up with a better name for it later that isn't as lame. Or we'll stick with this because it's funny. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, This is Mage Leader, signing off.